In this video, I'm going to introduce a concept that is a very old concept, being more flat in your swing versus being more upright, and the benefits of it. Okay, what I want to talk about today is that I do about 35 golf clinics a year, banking industries, universities, colleges, high school, corporate America. And before we unpack this, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, thumbs up or thumbs down, that's your prerogative. But what does matter are your comments. Drop a comment where you listening from, watching from, and whatnot, all right? I appreciate that. Okay, so again, I do like 35 golf clinics a year, and I usually bring in two of my coaches to help me out, and we set up 3 stations: chipping, putting, and full swing, and each group stays at one station for 30 minutes, then they're switching, right? And I normally do the full swing. So I've been thinking about this for about a month and a half because it ties in with something else, all right? So I noticed I have a very high success rate of getting players to hit their ball within that 30-minute window that I have. And I talk about the grip, stance, balance, and posture. And then I tell them, I say, what we're gonna do, because people wanna hit balls, right, in the clinic, they, they're there to hit balls. I say, what we're gonna do, we're gonna take the swing and we're gonna swing on a flatter angle, swing here, and I say until the target side lat gets tight. And I say, and that's gonna be your golf swing, and then we're gonna accelerate through the ball and get to a finish. And I said, that's gonna be our swing today. And our goal is to be able to see how many good shots we can hit by not trying to add a lot of manipulation. Well, that made me think for the past month and a half that I start looking at a lot of golf swings from the past, 80s, 90s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, even 30s, 40s, and 50s, to even up to today. And what I noticed was whoever the popular golfer is, that's who people on the driving range are trying to be like. So right now, we have more of an upright swing, and who's the popular golfer? Scotty Scheffler. Scotty Scheffler gets his hands to 12 o'clock in the golf swing, right? All right. Think about this. We can call it the modern swing. Most of the players on tour get their hands between 10:30 and 11 o'clock. Scotty's the only one to get his hands up here at 12 o'clock. He's the only one. Rest of the players are 10:30 to 11. Well, you look back in the old days where you still had some great players, right? Just take Hogan or Faldo as an example, or Knutson from Canada, right? Great ball strikers. Nobody will ever say these players wasn't great ball strikers, or even Mo Norman was a great ball striker. All those players were more flatter. They were more flatter. And there could be a couple reasons why. When you look at the science of golf, it could have been the 1-pound club, the 16-ounce driver, that they had more mass, a bigger hammer, so they didn't have to get their hands as high. But then it kind of goes away from that when you look at guys like Nicklaus, who got the hands high with that same 1-pound club, right? But it was something about the players that was more flatter. And the reason why I like a flat golf swing is this, especially in a golf clinic, it's less manipulation. It gives the player more time to accelerate in a shorter period of time because they're in the window of success. They right here, and they can accelerate through the ball, and you don't need, excuse me, you don't need an additional motion to get the club in that preferred wind of success. Because if the hands go higher, what are you going to do? In your transition, you have to lower and shallow, right? You have to lower and shallow and get into that window right here to be able to hit the ball. So in the golf clinic, I don't try to give a client a lot to deal with. If they just get here, only thing they have to do is turn and accelerate, and they're golden. So you may be chasing something out there that's not meant for you. I would say, hey, next time you go to the driving range, try a more shallow swing, a more flatter swing. It puts you in the wind of success. You never know, it may be right where you need to be. The thing about it, you're going to generate a lot of power, a lot of momentum, and a lot of acceleration, all right? See, I'm going to push this 8-iron 170. No way I can get an 8-iron there. I better go to a 7-iron, folks. I better go to a 7-iron. Pin high on the right hand side. All right, face was about a degree open. But was I flat? That's the goal. Was I flat? Because that's what you're working on, right? That's golden right there, baby. Get in the hole. Woo! All right, go up here and look at both these balls. So the first one, I'm gonna tell you, that's how golf is. People think that, oh man, I missed the ball. You know what? Your club face could have been 1 millimeter open or 1 millimeter closed. And then you time that at 170 yards. And what is that? 7 yards off target, right? You know, it's so much that goes into this game. You know, you got to be a pretty amazing golfer just to play this game. And then people beat themselves up. All right, let's go see what we got over here. We'll look at the first one. And then I made an adjustment on that one. Face was a tad open. Yes, I'm saying, look at that. You're talking about literal pin high. Pin high. And look how just what? 5 steps off the green versus the second one where I made an adjustment. Your second golfer is always your best golfer, right? Right here on the target line. 1 millimeter difference, folks. 1 millimeter difference. That's it. But the key is, my goal was I flat, right? So when you go work on it, sometimes don't worry about where the ball's going. Worry about if you're making the motion that you desire to make. And again, I would say re-look at being more flat instead of trying to get into these positions. I'm gonna tell you, most of the time we can't get into these positions. The amateur golfer, he have to do some physical training to get into these positions that these pros are into. And all the pros are doing physical training except for probably 5% of them. So hey, re-look at a flatter golf swing. You may just be surprised. Peace.